Let me speak briefly about entrepreneurial process. I'd like to break it down into distinct steps so that you can kind of say, oh, what does it mean to be an entrepreneur? The first step is every entrepreneurial business starts with an idea. Somebody had an idea somewhere, but ideas are a dime a dozen, right? Everybody's got an idea. Really, it's the next step in that entrepreneurial process, which is what allows that idea to come to fruition. That's opportunity recognition. Seeing that there's an opportunity in the market for that idea. And that opportunity's got to have two parts. The first part is it's really got to have a need or a want. Remember, we're talking about value creation? We got to have that. We got to be able to provide that value to our customer. So does the customer really need it? Do they want it? Are we solving their pain? That's just something I'm very emphatic about. Are we solving people's pain? Because that's what helps create that value. If we're solving, think of the milk cows. If we're solving the pain of having to keep our own cow, that creates value. That's what we're looking for. That's the first part. The second part is we have to have the resources to be able to accomplish it. And I think of it this way, an example that I have quite a number of years ago, 20 some odd years ago, when my wife had our second child. Our first child was approximately 3 years old. And my wife has her master's degree in early childhood education. She was very emphatic about potty training the older child so that she only had one child in diapers at a time. And she came up with this brilliant idea. She said, look, one of the gross inhibitions to a toddler learning to potty train is they have to go to an adult, a big scary adult, and say, will you pull my pants down? And she came up with this idea, why don't they make a diaper with an elastic waistband that the child can pull down themselves and go to the bathroom? Now, you all know that as one of a variety of brands, Pampers Pull-Ups or something like that. But that idea did not exist at the time. And that was true. That was an idea. But where it fell down for an opportunity for me was the means to get it to market. Meaning, me or my wife, we had no idea about how to create a diaper. How to manage. I guess we could have hired a design engineer, a process engineer, somebody could help us build those things, invested hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in equipment to build the diaper. And as we look at an entrepreneurial process, now I've got huge amounts of risk because I put lots of resources to it. And now I've got the diaper. I might even have to hire a chemical engineer because I don't know what the gel stuff is in the middle of that, right? So somebody's got to tell me all that. I got to put that all together. Now I've created the diaper. Well, that's great, but now I've got another problem. I've got access to market. How do I get it to market? I'm a standalone vendor. Is that a good place to be? No, not if you understand where diapers are distributed. Most of them go through large mass retailers, Walmart's, Kroger, those kind of organizations, large mass retailers. Do I have access to them as a standalone vendor? No, that'd be extremely hard for me to get access to. So that the idea kind of falls down in the opportunity for me. Is it a great idea? Yeah. Is it an opportunity for me? Not necessarily. Yeah, we could go through and we could patent the idea and maybe sell it to Kimberly-Clark or something like that. But the financial remuneration is just not there. So that's opportunity recognition. So that's step one, idea generation. Step two, opportunity recognition. Step three is we've got to go out and garner the resources. We talked about that earlier with what resources do we need for putting this organization together, both financial and people. Okay, got to bring all those together, and then we've got to launch this enterprise. That's step three. Hopefully, from that, we've got something now for step four, which is we've got to manage growth. We've got an enterprise that's growing, and we've got to manage that growth. We've got to grow along with it. And that takes a whole different skill set. And then step five is, and I would encourage any entrepreneur to do this before they launch their businesses, what do they want out of it? Or what is the harvest? And maybe more importantly, we create milestones along the road that we want to achieve so that we don't get into a situation where we're operating in what we call the land of the living dead, where we're making just enough to pay the bills, but not enough to create real wealth for the organization. So we create a series of milestones saying, okay, we got to achieve this milestone this year, or we shut it down, do something differently, right? So let's think. And then ultimately, what do we want to get out of the company? And this is what gets a lot of entrepreneurs in trouble is, they've run the business for 20 years, and now they want to retire, or they want to sell, or they want to do something else. How do they get out of it? How do they get their wealth out of it? There ought to be some sort of thought of that in the process before you start. So again, idea generation, opportunity recognition, resource and launch, management, and harvest.